This is uncharted territory for West Ham. For the first time in the club's history, West Ham are competing in a European group stage of a tournament. And we begin this chapter with a difficult tie away to the Croatian champions of the last four campaigns. The last season's Europa League quarter-finalists, Dinamo Zagreb. Welcome back to the West Ham Network, not for your preview, for your match day warm-up. Matt, I never even told you. We're changing the name of the show. It's a match day warm-up from now on. Matt, how you doing, mate? European football awaits our beautiful club. Talk to me briefly.
You said it's uncharted waters. We haven't done this before, so it's going to be exciting. It's going to be nervy. It's going to be a learning curve for everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Worst possible time. But it's not the worst possible time. That would have been last season. You know, last season we'd have had no fans. This year, if anyone can afford it, there is people can get out there. You know, I know the club is still selling tickets now, but I've heard stories that it's like £300-400 a flight now, and you've got to pay for a test that side to get back in. So anyone going just on a flight and a PCR test is forking out like £500.
Yeah.
So
100%.
But there'll be fans out there. We know there will.
Yeah. And
like you said, big European team. Of course, the team Zagreb knocked Spurs out last season.
Yeah. Can you say that again?
3-0 as well. They lost.
Yeah.
They lost at Tottenham 2-0, and then Tottenham went out to Zagreb and lost 3-0 from an Orsic hat-trick. And they got knocked out in the quarterfinals by Villarreal, who won it.
Look at this knowledge. This is why we bring Stato onto these shows. He's the most knowledgeable man we know. Listen, Matt, without you having to digress into the opposition, but also with a unique twist to this, it's time we talk Dinamo Zagreb. Please, everyone, please welcome the Croatian Irons. The Croatian Irons, you are in the background. We're not going to be doing video, but you've logged in via telephone chat, I suppose you could say. So how are you, my friend? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you. Well, thank you for your invitation. I'm glad to be here with you tonight to say something about the match ahead.
Yeah, so you it's kind of unique for you, really, because you live in Croatia. But you're a massive West Ham fan. But you've got a really good knowledge of the Croatian league.
Yes, I know I have knowledge of the Croatian league, but I don't support any of the teams in Croatian league. I'm really not interested in them. So, but I know what's happening here, and of course. And I think that I'm very, very, very aware what West Ham can expect in Zagreb and what could happen on the pitch. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we kind of talk about Zagreb briefly with you, Croatian Irons, just why West Ham? Where was the connection, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm personally lad in the mid 40s, so it was a long time ago, maybe 23, 4, 5 years ago, when I watched my first West Ham game, and that started everything from 1996 till today.
Yeah, excellent. Wow, so it's amazing to hear, and it's great to have fans living internationally supporting the club. To the highest level as well. Matt, I think what we're really keen to know about, though, and we'll ask you, Croatian Irons, as well, about your opinion on West Ham and the Europa League, but it's really good for us to get the knowledge of the Croatian League. So, of course, we're up against Dinamo Zagreb, the champions of the last 4 years. What's your thoughts about them in the Europa League?
Is it a question for me?
Yes, sorry, that's for you, Croatian Irons. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, what I can say about it, okay, Dinamo, we say Dinamo. Dinamo Zagreb, yes, no, not Dynamo, Dinamo. Dinamo, yes. Well, Dinamo Zagreb is a team like every European team. Basically, they have a lot of problems with their board and with fans and everything what's happening here. Maybe you know that main coach and the president of the board, they are officially outlaws and they are fugitives from the country, and they are waiting for extradition from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Croatia asked for their extradition, so that's basically happening around the club, and there's a lot of problems, a lot of issues, but that's one kind of story, and because of it, many Bad Blue Boys supporting group of WESTHAM of Dinamo Zagreb, they are boycotting many games, many matches, and constantly protesting against the board. And there was in the past many bad and awful situations with the referees also, and everything what was happening with the club, because in some part of Croatian history, Dinamo was identified as a national team, like some kind of national pride. So being part of the Dinamo was part of Croatian national identity, and all other clubs were put in some shadow of it. I think that you know what I mean about it.
Yeah, of course. And you kind of probably, apart from, the kind of corruptness, the crazy corruptness that's going on within the league, are there similarities between Dinamo Zagreb's, fan base not enjoying the ownership of the club in comparison to West Ham as well?
Well, those two clubs, West Ham and Dinamo Zagreb, you not compare those two clubs. It's completely different stories. It's incomparable. Everything is pretty much different. When you have a club which is pushed by the government, then you have one story. There is no clubs in a Premier League which are pushed by the government. So that is the reason. We have some situation that even some managers from the board, from Dinamo, pushed for some players to play in the national team, and also they had many issues with players, their contracts, selling players, and everything.
Yeah, of course.
So it is not possible to compare those two teams. Not possible.
Okay, cool. No, that's definitely cool to hear. Currently, Dinamo Zagreb are sitting top of the league in the Croatian league. I've got an image here for everyone to see. So they're obviously performing reasonably well so far this season.
Yes, but let's be honest, all other teams are not so strong sides. There is Hajduk, Split, Rijeka, and Osijek doing good things, but all other teams are comparing to Dinamo is some may say like Scottish League.
Yeah. So all right. Okay. So would you actually say then there is a similarity between, say, the Scottish League and the Croatian League in terms of
more
the standards?
Similarities. Yes. More similarities with the Scottish League than with the Premier League. Okay.
Cool.
That's it. Yes.
Cool. Matt, I think you've got a question, don't you? It's in the private.
Oh yes, so I actually did look this up myself. What I'm guessing you've just laid on the comparison with Scotland, and obviously the Croatian League, they don't get the automatic qualification for Champions League, do they? So this year they got knocked out, didn't they? They lost to FC Sheriff?
Yes. That was the qualification for Champions League qualification game, and Dinamo lost it. And that was the reason why Dinamo plays with West Ham in Europa League, because they are a lucky loser from the third qualifier round.
Okay. So when it comes to Dinamo in particular, I mean, who are the kind of players? What kind of way do they set out in a game? And what kind of players have they got? Would you mind explaining some of the players that you know of in the league?
Well, yes, I can. I did my homework as I promised. Well,
Thank you.
yes. Well, the main thing is that coach Krznar, Gaffer, he's a lad with no experience. That's his first job because he's put step into the place instead of ex-coach Mamic, who was convinced to the jail, but escaped from Croatia and ran away into the Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in 2 or 3 days, he, as assistant manager, stepped onto the job on Dinamo bench, and the first game was against Tottenham. And he won.
Yeah, so
3-0. and in that moment, supporters asked for him to stay, to remain on the bench. But now is obviously that he has lack of experience because it is his first managerial job. And he's not brave enough to play very attractive and openly in games, and he likes to closing the games, playing bunkers, and I think that will be the main thing. And he will not allow some creativity, and we will push to close the game to play on nil, on zero, to get 1 point possibly, and maybe looking for some opportunity from counterattacks. And that's the reason I think that he will play in some kind of formation 3-5-2. I think maybe I can check all positions, all players. From yes. On the goal, it will be Livakovic. He's a Croatian national goalkeeper in Croatian national team. And he was withdrawn from the national squad due to injury, but he will be fine and he will be ready for the game. That's not questionable. In the back line, there will be probably 3 players: Denmark player Lauritsen and French player Théophile, and with them young academy graduate Shutalo.
Okay.
They will be in back line, and on the backs will be probably on the right back will be Ristovski, that is a Macedonian player. Ristovski, he came last season from Sporting, and he playing very well for a club. Good squad player and good on that right back. And on the left back will be a player who's not exactly the left back, and that is a weak side of the Dinamo, playing without left back. They are improvising on that left side, and that will be Franjic on that left side.
Yeah.
In the middle, you will have Mišić and Ademi. Yes, Mišić. That's Mišić, and he is also came from Sporting. And Ademi, he is captain of the team, and he's a player of Macedonian national team. And then you will have Ivanušec. He will be in the middle. Ivanušec, that is superb lad. He's a motor of that team. He's playing. He's 22. He's playing for the Croatian national team. Already 8 caps, 1 goal. It's a superb player. Very creativity, lot of creativity in his legs. And
can I ask there? Sorry to interrupt you there, Croatian Irons. You mentioned me and you spoke earlier today, and you said this is a talent that maybe West Ham should actually look at.
Yes. if you ask me, the lad from Croatian league, that's the lad. He play on as a right midfielder, and also as a attacking midfielder, and he can play right winger. So he can put you can put him in a place of instead of Yarmolenko or Michael Antonio or Bowen, and he can cover that side perfectly. It's superb, lads. Superb talent. Currently worth about 12 million pounds, but I think that the asking price next summer will be at least 30 million for him.
So, see this question here to yourself. Then, is this player? Would you say there's a similar vibe to Vlasic?
Yes,
in particular, is he a similar style player?
Yes, similar, and I think it will be crucial for our team to stop him. That will be crucial to stop him. And in front you will have Oršić. He's late bloomer. He's 29 years old, and his career was insignificant in the last 2 seasons. He's late bloomer. Hat-trick against Tottenham was something great, but there are a lot of disputes about his play. There is no consistency in his play, but he's a good player. And there is also Petkovic in forward. Yes, he's a central forwarder, but has problems, poor aerial presence, and that is a chance for us.
Yeah, excellent. What a rundown! What a rundown!
Well, I wanted to say that they will have a lot of problems with passing ball from the back line to the Ivanušić and to the Petkovic. That will be very very big problem for them. And because of Krznal's style of play, he will put Franjic and Šutalo in the back. He will be forced to play Oršić as a false nine instead of left winger. Oršić is a left winger, but for a left winger you need different formation. You need one striker in front, but he will put him as a false nine, and that will close his creativity. Petkovic will take in his place in a
Can I ask then? Does it sound like they're going to potentially look at packing out that midfield in particular, trying to go toe to toe with our midfields? Would you say?
I think that Dinamo will play trying to pass the long balls from the back line to the Oršić and Petkovic up front. So if we succeed to cross those balls and to close Ivanušić's creativity, it's a very big chance. There is a very big chance for us, and pressing on their back line is very important, especially when on the left back you have two young guys, Franjic and Šutalo, young academy graduates both, and it will be a lot of pressure on them.
Okay. Perfect. No, it's really good to have that insight, Matt, isn't it? Especially from someone who understands the league. I mean, it's so much better than myself and Matt trying our best to get the information to us. When it comes to the Europa League, though, in particular, I understand the importance of making sure that the team finishes as high as they can in the domestic league in order to try and qualify for the Champions League, because that's where most of the teams want to be. But they will probably be going all out in the Europa League, won't they, Croatian Irons? Is that the kind of mindset of Dinamo Zagreb?
I think that they are very disappointed because they are lost their position in Champions League. Their goal was to play the Champions League. Even fans are not really happy about this Europa League and everything. And there is a lack of there is a big lack of consistency in Dinamo's play. For example, you showed me table that they are first on the table, yes, and for example, they scored only 13 goals.
Yeah.
And Orsic is a top scorer with 2 goals.
Okay.
You know, they have problems with scoring. They have problems with the team, with the consistency. They lost an opening match. They had problems even with the value in a first round of qualification for championship league. And with the Warsaw Legia, they had also problems in a play. I think the main thing for Dinamo is to win domestic league. That is the main thing for them, to win domestic league, to get domestic cup, and that is good. Those are goals. And the second goal is to play in a second part of the European league, to how we say it in Croatia, European spring, to see sun of European spring.
Of course. Last question then for you, Croatian Irons, before we ask for your prediction of the game on Thursday evening. Sharky's asking you a question. Are they a good passing side, or are they more of a physical aerial team? Do you think that they'll bring the physical game to West Ham in Europe to try and
physical? Yes. I think that they are not play passing against West Ham. It will be ridiculous for them to play on that side, because West Ham is obviously much stronger. That's out of question.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Now, listen, of course, you're coming from the mindset of being a big West Ham fan who lives in Croatia. What do you think the prediction will be? Where do you think this game will go on Thursday evening? West Ham's first European group stage game. Do you think the moment might get to West Ham? You've obviously seen our start to the season, so just your kind of brief thoughts on the season and what you think West Ham will do.
The biggest concern for me is what we saw this in the last match against Southampton, because lads were very tired, exhausted, playing 3 international games in 10 days. Antonio was getting back from Jamaica, traveling jet lag, and now you have for them you had, for instance, we had Declan Rice. He played 3 games with the national team, and then on Saturday, and now also heading to Zagreb to play another game. That's 5th game in 12 days, 15 days. So lads are pretty exhausted, and it's a tough schedule for play, and Dinamo atmosphere on the Dinamo's ground is awful. The stadium is awful. Everything that's true, and you will see it when the game starts. What I'm talking about, and I think that they will be missing all that support you have when you're playing in Premier League, and what we saw in the first 3 games with our team in the Premier League. I'm just afraid if there won't be enough motivation for our guys to play with full heart. You know what I mean? And from other side, you have a team, some guys in that squad like Ademi or Orsic. They are ready to lose the life on a pitch. In front of home supporters. And if in our team will be just another game which has to be played, then we will have problems, and we will give opportunity for Dinamo to score from some counter attack or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, have you got anything to add to the Croatian Irons before we ask for the prediction of the game?
I've got these notes and I'm trying to pick something out. I did read that we're going back 10 years. They were rated as having. They were in the top 6 of the best academies in Europe. So, can you see a lot of? Will they have a lot of kids on the bench? Do they produce a lot of good kids to come through? Do they bring in to sell them on, or do they blood in their academy through and playing them in the first team?
Well, Dinamo has very good academy, producing a lot of young players, playing everywhere in the league, and many players are on loans, and academy is very good, and they have a lot of young guys playing.
Yeah,
for them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, last question then: what is your predictions for the Thursday night game?
I think it will be tough. I should say that 1 point will be massive. If we gain 1 point in a opening game on away field, especially they are predicting it will be rain on that evening. It will be rain. So I think that 1 point will be massive, but I hope for 2-0 for us.
2-0 to West
And
Ham.
Vlasic will score a goal.
Yes, which may cause some problems, but hopefully,
yes.
hopefully it does not. Listen, Croatian Irons, thank you so much for joining us. You've given us such a great insight into the opposition, considering you're a massive West Ham fan as well. So that really does help us. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll get you on to talk maybe for the second leg, if you don't mind.
Well, if there be opportunity, I will be happy to join.
Perfect. Excellent.
Your talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care. Everyone's delighted to have you on. Thanks, Croatian Irons. Take care. Bye-bye. So, yeah, amazing. Amazing to have the Croatian Irons on. Gives us the great knowledge of the opposition, where me and you can't, we try our best, but we can't sit here and say we watch the Croatian League, can we? So,
I said I've got about 2 pages notes, but I couldn't give you playing styles. I can give you a few names, But saying that, I should give a round of applause because, yet again, you found someone. People sit here and they don't know that it's not me, it's you. You come on every week and you manage to find a spot to come on. And I'm like, I'm sitting there saying, he's not going to find anyone tonight. There's no way he's going to find
someone who's got the knowledge of that league.
And you've pulled it out of the bag yet again.
Yeah.
So,
mate, I like this. Keep lapping it up, Matt, if you want. Keep praising me. That's all.
People think Stell. He's not Stell. It's Ant. Yeah.
Listen, let's move on from that. I think it's time we bring the main attraction, the special guest, the guest that everyone's here for. It's not for me or you, Matt. It's not for the Europa League, but he's going to come in. He's been on before, and he's coming in to chat West Ham, Dinamo Zagreb. It's none other than the legend. Let's check this video out. Mr. David Cross, thank you so much for joining us again. Can I just say something, Mr. Psycho? This is your hat-trick appearance on our channel.
I didn't realise that.
Yes.
I knew I'd been on once. I didn't realise I'd been on twice. Was there a young boy on?
There was a young boy on one of them, and then I think you came on again with Stelios, who kept you on all night. Actually,
right, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
he does. But when people come on our show and you come on a hat trick appearance, David, I'm actually going to present you and send to you our hat trick appearance mug. So I'll send one of these to you as well, and thank you.
I'll treasure it with pride. I really will. I've got a few West Ham memorabilia things here that not that I earned, but that people have bought me since.
Yeah.
Like my son got me something last Christmas, which was, I don't know how he did it. You probably will know. He brought me a mug, but it had the CFAX details of the Tottenham game where we won 4-0 at White Hart Lane, and he had
Oh, what
all
gift!
those on it. So that was really good. Yeah, it was good. Did you describe me as the naked attraction, or did you say the naked attraction?
I don't think that was me. I think that was somebody else in the chat, maybe.
I'm sure you said the naked attraction. You said definitely something sort of.
Please, David, don't say I said that, because I'm a bit concerned about myself if I did say that.
Well, yeah, yeah. Matt's happy with that anyway.
I'd be slightly worried, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried as well. Have you? Yeah, you'd need. No, I'll not go there. Go on, keep going.
Listen, Matt, it's a pleasure to have David on, isn't it? I mean, listen, David, I'm not going to lie to you. Whenever we have any ex-legends come on, Matt just freezes like a rabbit in headlights, and I think he's going to do it.
Matt's too young to remember me, so he want to watch me play.
I'm a third-generation West Ham fan, so
he's got no choice. He's got no choice to remember everything that's gone on. But David, I'm going to ask people in the chat to ask questions. But we have had you on before, and we have had you on talking about your career, and we do want to talk a little bit about that, but kind of relate it to the game against Dinamo Zagreb, because obviously we know, you've scored 6 goals, is it, in European competition for West Ham?
Yes, somebody brought it the other week, actually. Tim Crane, do you know Tim Crane? Have you heard of Tim?
No, I've not.
I'm very surprised. He does a lot of West Ham stuff,
right,
online, Tim. But yeah, he actually missed out the fact that I had got 6 goals. He got me about 3rd or 4th on the list of all-time goal scorers for West Ham in Europe, but he somehow it slipped through the net that I'd got those 6. So yeah, that's something I'm very proud of, to be able to say that I got those goals. To be fair, look, being a goal scorer is great. I mean, I love being a goal scorer. I didn't start my career as a striker. I started on the right wing as a schoolboy. And then as soon as I signed for Rochdale and the manager saw me 6'2", he just stuck me up front in a game. I didn't know what to do, but I never played in any other position. But what I did learn was that as a striker and a goal scorer, you're very much dependent on the service you get. And when I went to West Ham, I just got so many chances to score because of the players we had. So, I was just the guy at the other end, finishing stuff off, and it was just, I wouldn't say it's easy to score goals, but the chances you get with players like Trevor Brooke and Alan Devonshire, you get so many chances to score that it becomes almost like clockwork, really, for me. I would know when the ball was going to come in. As soon as Trevor was out wide, I knew that when the ball was going to come in. I knew what his nuances were when he used to dummy it and then check out, go back outside. If he was on the right wing about to cross, he'd pretend to cross. The defender would go to block that. Trevor would come back out with the outside of his right foot and then bend it in with his left foot. Well, I knew that was going to happen, and defenders didn't. So I was always on the front foot with that. And like I'm saying, it's when you're a striker, you're dependent on the other lads, and I was so lucky to be able to play with those guys at West Ham.
Yeah, it's just amazing to have someone who's been in the boots that the players are going to be feeling come Thursday. I mean, there is a difference, I suppose, because obviously you've come off the back of winning a cup. And these players have come off the back of having a very good season qualifying for the Europa League. Yeah. Can I ask you, David, what do you think the players' mindsets are like coming into? This is the first time in our history we've gone into a group qualifying stage.
Yes, and that's interesting you say that, because I was slightly confused with the Croatian guy who said we could get 1 point or we could get 3 points. and then you described it as the first leg. So, I mean, is it a home?
Sorry, you're right. No, you're right. You've caught me out again, David. You've caught me out again. Yeah, I meant to say the second game. I meant to say the second game. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, until I heard the guy say the points, I was thinking it would be a two-legged game. So it is different. I think it's different. I think, in answer to your question, we didn't do as well in our preliminary season before we got into Europe as our lads did this season, or last season, should I say. To win the cup, you have to win, 6 games? To get where we got in the league last year in that Premiership, you've got to win a lot of games and be very, very consistent. You've got to have players who can come in on injuries, come in on loss of form. And we did that last season. And so I think that the lads will be much more confident about what they can do this season than we were 40 years ago, because all we'd done was win 6 games over half of a season. And a couple of those games were replays. And these lads will be buzzing, I would think, and really confident. A bit like what was the Croatian guy called? What was his name?
Well, he didn't actually give us his name, and I'll give everyone a brief explanation as to why. He's a massive West Ham fan, David, who lives in Zagreb.
So he didn't want to.
And there's problems with the ultras right now, and there's concerns with regards to the fans, etc. So he didn't want to come on camera, etc.
Okay, I understand. Right, I understand that. I didn't pick it up till more than halfway through the interview with him. So okay, fair enough. But listening to what he had to say. I mean, I don't know much about what Zagreb have done this last few years. I do know they've had a good start to the season. I don't know how they got on at the weekend, but I do know that in the first 5 games they've done pretty well.
Can I give you just for everyone that's watching just a very brief video to explain a little bit more about Dinamo Zagreb? If you just check this out.
Okay.
So the big hitters of the Croatian league, they're currently sitting top of the Croatian league, David.
I did know that. I was aware of that. I know that the last 5 games, they've won 4 and drawn 1. But I didn't know how they went on Saturday that weekend. Yeah. So that was the first. Yeah, I mean, they're 13 points from 6 games. So, yeah, they've obviously started really well. They're obviously a good team.
But what was interesting, though, what we got from the Croatian Irons was that their top goal scorer, they've scored 13 goals in 7 games. The top goal scorer is only scored 2 goals in particular. So he said that they are lacking the goal scoring attitude that West Ham currently have. Matt, have you got anything you want to kind of ask David in comparison for the Europa League, West Ham, or anything?
Yeah, it's just something we haven't really delved into yet, and I know you spoke a little bit about it, but it's how are the players going to cope with this? Because they go into Zagreb, and anyone that watches European football every season, you know that the atmospheres can be really, really intense, and it's not something the West Ham players would have experienced before, because there's nothing like that in the Premier League. So how is that going to how they're going to cope with the situation of dealing with the atmosphere that they're going to find out in Europe?
I mean, it's part of the deal, really, Matt, of going to Europe, and it's a learning process. It was for us. It certainly was for me. I mean, I was 30 when I played in that season with West Ham. I'd never played in Europe before, and it was we got a kind of a bit of a shoe-in with the first game because it was the Real Madrid's reserve team, Castilla. So we played at the Bernabeu, and they were good young players, but there was no real hostile fans there. It turned out a bit nasty for our fans themselves in the stadium, but for us on the field, we never felt any hostility really. And years later, well, a couple of seasons later, I actually went to Greece and played one of the Athens teams, and that was incredibly hostile. And I'd never experienced that before. And as I say, I was in my 30s, and you did feel intimidated for sure. And I think our boys will feel that. They've got to be prepared for it. It's not easy, but you're on the field. You're not going to be, no one's going to come and get you. You've just got to absorb it and try and fight against it. But what I found in the season we played in Europe was when we went away, the opposition players were very, very hostile's not the right word, but violent. The threats you got, the verbal threats, the physical threats
really
you got,
yeah, wow,
were, if you weren't that kind of a player, if little Paul Allen maybe would have been a bit intimidated by that. I thrived on that. I thought, if someone was threatening me, I said, right, okay, come on, let's see how you go then. But the reverse of that was that when those teams and those players who came so ferociously at you on their ground, when they came to Upton Park, they were the nicest blokes you could meet, because what they thought was they were trying to be nice to us. As you walk down the tunnel at Upton Park with those players, they were patting you on the back and shaking your hands and saying, "Oh, how are you?" and big smiles and everything, because they thought they were going to get from us what we got from them in their stadium. Well, we didn't operate like that. We all of our lads are British, weren't they? English and Scots lads. And we don't operate like that. We just get on with it and we play football. And their intimidation on their grounds, they assume that you will do that to them when they come to England. And it doesn't happen like that. We just wanted to play football and beat them. You've just got to absorb that and take it into consideration.
Yeah, there's loads of questions in the chat. We will come to the questions in a second. But what's quite funny about the similarity between you, particularly, David, and you playing in the Cup, is the fact that you played with no attendance in one of the games that you scored a hat-trick. And then you followed that game up by attending a game away from home with 27,000 fans, was it? Something like that. So Castilla, when you had no fans in the ground, and you got the hat trick. What was that like? And the comparison is, the players are coming off a season where we're now getting fans into the stadium. What impact will that have, especially now being a European game?
Yeah, it's difficult playing away from home in Europe. It's difficult, especially when you haven't done it before. And I hadn't done it. I mean, a few of the lads had, because 75, they played, the 76 season, there were half a dozen of our lads had played in Europe before. I hadn't, and I didn't know what to expect. And it was a bit of a shock, but you have to just take it. You've got to take it in your stride, and part of the learning process. I know what you're saying. There's no fans. We didn't have any fans at all last season. Our lads got used to that. Now they're going to be... When you said the 27,000, what game was that?
The Poli Timisoara, I can't pronounce their name.
Timisoara, yeah. Timisoara, yeah. The Romanian team. After going to the Bernabeu, I mean, that was iconic in itself. An experience for all of us to play at the Bernabeu. One of the most famous stadiums in the world, and a big crowd as well. Not huge, because it wasn't Real Madrid; it was Castilla. And then we went to, it was quite a small ground as well, the one in Romania, the Timisoara one. It was quite a small stadium, but that was packed, because what they do over there, or what they did in the Iron Curtain countries, everybody works for the state. But when there's a football match, because all the teams were state-sponsored football teams anyway, that you would work all day. But if there's a football match, then part of your deal was you got off work at lunchtime and were able to go and watch the match. Hardly anything cost you to get in. It wasn't like 40 quid to get a ticket, like it might have been at Upton Park. It was virtually free for the communist bloc countries, so the fans could get in, because the communist system was that way. You worked hard, and the state paid very little in terms of wages, but you got all the benefits that they gave you. And going into football matches for hardly anything at all, cost-wise. And that's why there was such a big crowd on that Wednesday afternoon. And it was the same when we went to Tbilisi. When we played Dinamo Tbilisi, it was an afternoon game, a Wednesday afternoon game. I mean, if you can imagine that in England, a Wednesday afternoon European game, how would you get off work? How would all our West Ham fans get off work to go on a Wednesday afternoon? But in the communist bloc countries, they were allowed to do that because it was part of the deal. It's part of the state looking after you. So, so that was a big crowd that day, you're right. But I can't overemphasize the fact that you're learning all the time. The first game, it'll be really difficult. I mean, with what's been going on recently in the continental games, our black lads are going to have a bad time. It's absolutely no doubt about that. They're going to have to take stuff that they've not ever been used to. To a certain extent, we were used to it back 40 years ago because in the 70s there was a lot of racism at football grounds that we played with, and we kind of got used to it. I'm not suggesting that the black guys in our team got used to it and accepted it, but they did know it was likely to happen. It might be a big shock. Well, it shouldn't be a big shock because of what we've seen over the past couple of weeks. But our guys are going to get it, and they've got to just take it on the shoulders and get on with it. Play them. Just concentrate on what's happening on the field and try and shut your ears to all the stuff that's going to go on. But anything would be decent in terms of a result for us. Anything getting a point and then coming back would be good. Yeah.
Matt, that's over to you.
All right. So Pete's got a question. How did it feel putting on the claret and blue jersey, then going onto the pitch at Upton Park? I'm guessing he means for the first time.
I think I think there's going to be a few questions in here, David, from people that have not spoken to you before. So we'll just run through some of them if that's okay, and then we'll kind of come back to the Europa League as well.
All right. I'm assuming you must mean, what was it? What did it feel like pulling on the claret blue jersey and going onto the pitch at Upton Park? I'm assuming he means for the first time.
Well, I don't know if I told you this story last time I was on, but when I was a little boy, 7, 8 years of age, a friend of mine said, "What hobbies have you got?" I said, "Well, I don't have a hobby. I just like playing football and cricket. That's what I do." He said, "You should have a hobby outside of that." I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "I collect football programs." I said, "Oh, well, how can I collect football programs? I have no money. I'm 7, 8 years of age. I can't go to football matches and get..." "Oh, no," he said, "you write to football clubs, send a nice letter, say you're a young boy, you're collecting football programs, and they'll send you one back. They'll send you a program." So I took that on board. He said, "Whatever you do, put a stamped addressed envelope in and then they'll send it back to you." So I did that. I sent about 6 letters off to football clubs in the first division. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, my mother got me up one morning and said, "David, you've got a letter." I mean, I was 8. You didn't get a letter in the late 1950s when you're 8 years of age. She said, "But it's in your handwriting. I don't understand." I said, "Oh, no, that's going to be a football program. Someone sent me one back." And it was the very first one, and I opened it up, and it was from West Ham. And so I always had something in my mind about West Ham. I always felt a kind of connection because of that little boy getting that program. Can you imagine the excitement I had when a football club had actually sent me a letter and sent me a program with a nice letter and saying, "Hope you find this to be what you want." So West Ham was always kind of deep in my mind. I never ever dreamt I would play for them. I never dreamt, even when I signed as a young player for Rochdale when I was 17, that I would go much beyond playing in that division, which is the 3rd division then. So when I actually got to play and moved on through my career through Norwich and then Coventry and West Brom, to actually get the chance to play for West Ham was just fantastic for me. And I knew because of what I'd learned in those previous 10 years from being 17 to coming to West Ham was when I was 27. I learned that if I got into the box and got on the end of things, I got a good chance of scoring goals. And when I realised I was going to West Ham with those creative players, it was just brilliant for me. And I couldn't wait to get on that park. I felt so proud to to be playing for West Ham United, having thought back to that 7-year-old boy who received that letter that day.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable to think how these things pan out to the way that they do. Pete, I hope you enjoyed David answering that question himself. Matt, next one.
What we got? David, what's your opinion on VAR?
Oh, for God's sake! I'd like to throttle the bloke who invented it. It's appalling. It just is. I've got to say, you put some lovely stats up about my career there, Anton. 97 goals in those. I would have said 50% of those 97 goals would have been wiped off because of VAR. Because of what we did to get into the box and got on the end of things, knocking people about. VAR is just awful. I mean, I feel sorry for the fans. You just can't celebrate a goal. You've got to wait for the.
It is.
It's just awful for me.
You're right, David. You're right.
So much.
You're right. I mean, the amount of I was at the Newcastle game when we came back from being down in the first half, and you were celebrating, and then the next minute someone would say, "Look at the screen," and you're like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, what goal?
Just didn't know what to do.
It was Oh no, it was the penalty.
It was the penalty. It was the penalty award. Yeah, you celebrate though when the team gets awarded a penalty, etc. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. Matt, what's next?
What we got? West Ham broke the club record of 180,000. You hear a lot of talk in the media. Will we respond to the pressure given the price? How did it sit with you in the beginning? When you broke the club record at £180,000, you hear a lot of talk in the media. Will they respond to the pressure given the price? How did you think you responded? How did you find it? Did it affect you? Like it was a record?
Not really. I signed for West Ham, strangely enough, on my 27th birthday, December the 8th, 1977, and I've been around the block. I learnt the game. I knew what to do. I knew how to operate. I knew how to intimidate centre halves and become like the horrible bloke that centre halves don't want to play against. And it's difficult really to say that I didn't feel nervous. I did feel a responsibility. And can you hear me all right? Because I can't hear you guys.
We can hear you. Yep, we can hear you. Yep.
Right, okay. I felt more of a responsibility to John Lyall. I mean, John, the minute I met John, I just took to him immediately. He was just such a nice bloke. He took me to his house before I signed for them. He took me to his house. We had tea with his wife, showed me around that area of London that I might live, or Essex that I might live, showed me down where the ground was, down Green Street. He worked so hard to convince me to sign for the club, which he didn't need to do anyway, because I'd made my mind up I was going to sign anyway, because my days were really numbered at West Brom. And so it's responsibility really rather than nerves. I just really look forward to playing there again, because I knew what was going to happen, because I knew I was going to play with Derek Hales and Pop Robson up front, and we were going to get those creative players giving us chances to score. And that was really, that responsibility came back to me at the end of the season because I knew that John had signed me in December the 8th. How far? We'll do 20 games into the season. We were bottom of the league, hadn't won a game. I signed on a Thursday and couldn't play on the Saturday because of the deadline, the 48-hour deadline, but we won. We beat Man United at home on the Saturday. Trevor got the winner, and that was the first game the lads had won all that season. And I thought, well, that might have given them a lift, that they'd got a new striker.
Yeah.
And, they'd won that first game. So, and I was just so much looking forward to it. But at the back end of the season, I knew what John had signed me for. He'd signed me to score goals, and he'd signed me, hopefully, to score enough goals to keep us up. And if I'd scored one more goal that season, we probably would have stayed up. But I didn't. Yeah. I got a dozen goals, but that wasn't enough to keep us up. So it was only at the end of the season where I felt that I'd let John down, because I hadn't scored sufficient goals to keep us up, and that's really why he'd signed me back in December.
David, can I ask a question then? If I think about West Ham's season currently with Antonio leading the line for West Ham, we've not gone out there and signed a well-known striker, you could say.
No, they've converted Antonio into a striker.
We've converted Antonio into a striker. So do you think there's a form of pressure on a player like Antonio without the transfer fee to perform at the highest level? Or do you think he handles that pressure well?
I think he handles it brilliantly. I think the pressure when he walks on the field is on the centre half who's marking him. It must be a nightmare to play against. He's so strong. He just never gives up. He's got everything really as a striker. His build. He's monster, isn't he? In terms of physical strength. He holds it up so well. It must be great for the supporting players to run on because if you do, sometimes if a long ball goes up and it goes up to the striker and a midfield player is going up to support, either to support from behind or to support by going on beyond, the worst thing that can happen is if that's number 9 doesn't keep hold of the ball and doesn't secure it, and then those players who've gone on to support him are then stranded and have to chase 50 yards back on the ball that they have to chase, that the opposition centre half's headed towards our defence. So the knowledge that you would have as a midfield player, knowing that he is just going to hold it up, it must be fantastic for the lads who go to support him and to go on beyond, because they know he's going to secure possession and he's going to give them either a ball to play to run on behind or a ball to their feet to send out wide.
Yeah, can I ask you a question?
I love Antonio. I absolutely love Antonio. I do. I really do.
With regards to Antonio, then, how do you think he's going to perform in the Europa League? I mean, the European League is going to get a taste of what we've seen for a couple of seasons now, with Antonio in particular playing up front. His bullyish tactic, he drives at defenders, he holds up play really well. He calls himself this beast, but when he gets into this powerful run, he sometimes is and can be playable.
Yeah,
he's unpredictability as well. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. The only thing I would say is that, and again, going back to the times I had playing in Europe, and this is going to be a bit controversial, referees are very, very easy on the home side. And because of his physicality, I can see him giving a lot of free kicks away when the ball goes up to him, purely because of his strength. We love that in England, don't we? British players, we love to see that ball going up to a striker who's strong enough to hold it off. I can see foreign referees giving fouls against him purely because of his strength, which wouldn't be given as fouls if he was playing in the Premiership. So he's got to be a bit careful, I think, in terms of that. But once you start thinking you've got to be careful about how you play, and it takes that natural flair off you, then it alters the way you play. He's just got to go and do what he does for us every Saturday and every Wednesday night. But I can see foreign refs. I can see the opposition players complaining at the ref, and the refs getting intimidated by those foreign players. I can't stress enough how difficult it is to play away in Europe. It's not like going to Old Trafford. It's not like going to Anfield. It's very intimidating. Referees get intimidated by crowds. They get intimidated by the opposition players, and sometimes they bend a little bit and they weaken. And I can honestly see a lot of Antonio's, what we would say, oh, well done, brilliant. You'll hear the whistle go, free kick to the opposition, just purely because of his strength and
pure physicality.
Beast physicality that he talks about.
Yeah. GP's asking a question here. Can we cope with only one striker in 3 cups and the Premier League? What do you think about that decision not to go out and bring in another striker? But we've obviously covered the midfield and the creativity that we've got there.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I did think we'd sign somebody. I do. David Moyes really has. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but David Moyes made Antonio a striker. Yeah.
Yeah.
This talk. Bear in mind, for me as well, I'm out of the loop because I'm 200 miles away from you guys. I'm in Manchester and I don't get to hear the word on the street. But what I have heard on social media or what I've picked up is that they talk about Bowen maybe being a striker and getting up front. Is that right, or is that?
I think there's a lot of. I mean, we will come on to. I mean, I'll ask you as well, David, in a second about your kind of. Hopefully, you can help us build the starting 11. What you would like to do is for the game in the Europa League, but there's talks about the creativity of the players we've got. Bowen can play as a forward. Vlasic can play as a forward. They've got this option of false nines. I mean, that's my question to you. What's your opinion on false nines? I know you played in an era where it was all about either two or one man up front. But what's your opinion on not bringing in a second striker and West Ham relying on the creativity, potentially players that have never played there before, to go up top?
Yeah, it is difficult. I mean, we were a 4-4-2 team when I played. I always had a striker up front with me. To be fair, the first season I played, the season we went down, we played three up front. It was myself, Derek Hales and Brian Robson. But after that, we were only two up front. So it would be me and Brian, me and Paul Goddard, and then me and Stuart Pearson. It was only in the cup final we played one up front that day, which was difficult for me, but it was a job to do, and I could do it. I wouldn't have fancied having to play up front on my own all season, because I think it would have taken away a lot of my goal scoring ratios, if you like. I don't think I would have got on the end of as many things if I had all that work to do in every league game. Antonio can do all that. He can do the strength stuff. He can do the holding up, and he can get in the box and finish. And he can do all that because of his strength. Whether he can do that for 50 odd games in a season, I did think we would probably sign somebody, a genuine, if you like, number 9. The term false 9 always worries me. If I ever heard anybody say that they played in the false 9 position, I'd say, well, yeah, I've met you guys before, false 9s. That means you don't fancy getting kicked and punched and knocked about. You fancy dropping in the hole where it's a little bit safer. And I know that technically it's a position that can help. But we bought the guy from Preston, didn't we, Hugo, 3 or 4
Jordan
seasons
Hugo,
ago,
yeah.
And he's gone now, hasn't he? He was probably a number 9, a true number 9, if you like. I know he's rough and ready, and a lot of fans didn't fancy him too much, but he gave you everything he got. But I did think we would sign somebody. I think David Moyes would sign somebody. He must have something in his mind, and to think what he can do if Antonio gets injured. I mean, you tell me again. Like I say, I'm out of the loop because I'm up here in Manchester. But have we got any kids in the reserves or the academies coming through who are likely to play up?
I'll let Matt explain that one to you.
Well, we do, but I think there's a couple that like Mipo went out on loan, didn't he?
Mipo Odubiku, we've got a young lad who went out on loan to Huddersfield.
The rules that I didn't even know until this season. Maybe because you're not in the competition, you don't know. So there's a 25-man squad that we've registered
for Europe. You mean?
Yeah, which we registered, which is the 25-man squad. But every game,
so that's done now. So that's it. We can't add anyone to that from the kids. You mean?
We can. This is the complicated thing. So you can the day before the game. The manager can submit a B list. Is it 11 additional players from the academy?
From a certain age down.
That can be used as backup for the squad. However,
so that means you can pick from 36 then
in the academy,
right,
for 2 years. So the kids that they've brought in this summer that have been doing well can't play because they've only been in the academy a couple of months. So on that basis, the one we had is out on loan. So I don't think there is a young centre forward in the academy.
We don't know if there is a centre forward really in there that's been there long enough to be included in that. Yeah,
I understand that. Right. Okay. So it looks as though we've not. So it's going to be another conversion then if we're going to have someone play up front, or
absolutely
Antonio gets injured or completely change the system. You do think. I mean that you get them back to the politics of the club, don't you? With the change of ownership, don't you? And wonder why that would happen. That we didn't get backup for the manager. David Moyes seems to me like a pretty strong guy who could go and speak to the chairman and say, look, we need this. But obviously we haven't signed anybody, have we? We've not signed
I mean, we kind of listen a lot to what Moyes is saying, and he's kind of convincing us West Ham fans that, you know, he will get quality over quantity. So you won't bring in a player for the sake of it. They've got to pass this characteristic test and fit the mold of a potential striker that we've got. And I think he's looking potentially for a like for like with regards to Antonio. So if Antonio is not there, then can we fulfill that position with a player like Antonio? Because we've tried and tested the players like Haller, who we didn't play to their style. We didn't feed the ball into the box, and it didn't work out for him. But he can go to other clubs, and it can. So it's an interesting one. But listen, David, WHU58 is asking you, can you remember scoring a diving header against Arsenal at Highbury in the 1980s with one of your many goals that you scored, David?
For West Ham against Arsenal at Highbury? I don't. I honestly don't. I do remember most of my goals. I don't remember even scoring at Highbury. No, I can't remember that.
Well, get WHU58. Let us know a bit more thing in there because David scored loads of goals and I mean he's this you know, so he's plenty of goals to have to think from. There's a few more questions, David, and then we'll kind of get back onto the Europa League as well. Let me just find them. Can you see any there? I mean, Pete's saying thank you for answering the questions. GP saying one striker who's injury prone versus 3 cups in the Premier League. So people are not so sure on West Ham's approach really to.
I can see that. I can fully understand that. I mean, as a top club finishing where we finished last season, to rely on one guy like him, as you say, injury prone, usually means brave and unlucky rather than injury prone is not a great thing. If you described a player to his face as being injury prone, you'd probably you'd probably finish up with some bandages around your head, because players, no one would. If you get injured, it's because usually you're brave, or you're not brave at all, and you get injured because you're not brave. If you understand what I mean, the guys who'll go in for everything, who don't mind getting hurt, and if you get injured doing that, how can you help that? On the other hand, you'll get the odd player who doesn't fancy a tackle at all, and because they back out, they do get injured. But I mean, Antonio, to say he's injury prone is a bit harsh in my opinion, but I'm a professional who wouldn't like anyone saying that about anyone I knew. No, I mean, if people thought I was injury prone, then I did play with a lot of injuries. I tried my best to make sure that people didn't know I was injured. When I got punched and kicked and went down on the ground, I got up as best I could to try to prove to the guy who kicked me that I wasn't injured. Whereas now you'll see some players, and I think you might think of one player who now plays for Manchester City, who's come from the Midlands, who does his best to make sure everyone thinks he is injured. That goes against the grain for people like me who played in the era where if you didn't look after yourself, you were in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, David, if you're okay with this, we like this little graphic here. I don't know if you can see this little graphic here. This is this is the squad, the West Ham, the squad. I mean, there could be some changes and other players added to this. But if you're David Moyes going into this Europa League game, and I'll ask everyone in the chat as well to start naming your starting 11 for the Europa League game. What 11 would you like to see? What do you think Moyes will do? Now, we've signed 4 players in particular. We've signed Areola, the goalkeeper. We've signed Zuma, the centre-half. We've signed Krall, the midfield defensive midfielder. And Vlasic, the kind of winger, borderline going up top. Now, do you think we're going to see some changes, or do you think we will start to see consistency, even though we've got a lot of games to play in the coming weeks?
I think things have changed in the time that I played to now, in terms of we wanted to play every game. You wanted to play every single game. You didn't want to be left out and rested. Now it's different. Now the managers have got to manage the players much better than we were managed possibly in those days. But we didn't want to be left out. I mean, one of the reasons we didn't want to get left out is because most of us as players were on appearance money. So if you got picked, you got more money in your wage packet. So you were desperate to play to bulk your wage packet up and get the win bonus, which he bulks it up even more. But now you've got to manage your players so much more. So I would think, especially when you've got to go to somewhere like an Eastern European country on a Thursday night and then come back and play on the Sunday, you've got to manage your players really well. So in answer to the question, I wouldn't be surprised at all if a lot of changes were made, purely to keep the boys right, because I don't know how they approach European games now, but for us, when we played, it was the league was our bread and butter. That the European stuff was a bonus.
Yeah.
So you wanted your best performances in the league, so that you did well week in, week out on the Saturdays that you played against English clubs. They were a bonus as for us, those European games, but you can't kind of take your eye off the ball too much. Play your strongest players in Europe, and then they come back tired, having flown home on a late Thursday night and getting very little sleep. I mean, we came back from Tbilisi and Timisoara and got back at 4 a.m. on a Thursday morning, and then had to play on the Saturday. So, no sleep at all. Got back home at probably 6 o'clock in the morning, had a couple of hours in bed. But your sleep pattern was all wrong, and that can be difficult. And that's another thing that the manager will take into consideration with who he plays.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I would say, and I've said it for the last 12 to 18 months, was one of the best things for me about what's happened over that period is our signings. Our signings have been really good. They've been proper players that we want, honest. They go out there and do the job. The three, well, I'm going to say that the two Czechoslovakian lads or Czech Republic lads. Now we've got three, haven't we? So, they're very, very good. Bowen's been good. I know people criticise Craig Dawson very unfairly, in my opinion, because he is what he is. He gives you what he's got, and I think he's done well for us. When last season, when he was defending well and getting up and getting the odd goal from set pieces. But our signings have been really good, and I don't think that will change with the lads we've signed over this the last transfer window. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few changes, and he had a good look at those players.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, when it comes to then our goalkeeper, what do we think? Do we think it will be the chance for West Ham to see Areola? Matt, I think you're going to push for that. Would I be right?
Yeah, I think it will be.
What do you think, David? Oh, sorry, Matt.
Tell me, I don't know much about this lad. What's his history? Where's he come from?
Go on, Matt.
He played for Fulham last season. He was Fulham's player of the season last season.
Right.
He's come from Paris, from PSG.
We've signed him from PSG.
Yes, he was on loan at Fulham last season.
Right.
The season before he was at Fulham, or the season before that, he, on loan, won the Spanish title with Real Madrid.
Oh, wow.
He was their number one.
Right.
Season before that, he won the French title with PSG. They do, however, have about 6 goalkeepers. And this summer they signed the Italy number one, who was in goal against England in the Euros final.
Right. So he was never going to get a game for PSG then, was it? So he's going to be pleased to be coming to us.
And he is only 28 compared to Fabianski's 36. So I think the idea is he's going to be the long-term replacement for Fabianski.
Yes, sure. That makes sense. Well, he's obviously going to have to play. I mean, to chuck a lad into a European game in a previously Iron Curtain country, there's going to be a lot of pressure on a goalkeeper in those situations.
That's interesting, David. It's an interesting point of view, because I believe there's a lot of fans that believe that Areola will start, but we're the fans that don't live and breathe what you have lived and breathed your whole career. Hence the reason we've asked you to come on, because you can give us the inside knowledge on what these things happen. So if you are a new player and you've not played for the club, would it be the wrong decision to give them their debut away from home in the Europa League at Croatia?
I think it would definitely be a sink or swim situation for him. It depends what kind of a lad he is, if he fancies it. I mean, if a player you get the impression as a manager that the player wants to play in that game, and you kind of half think, it might be a good idea to play the new goalkeeper, and you have a word with him, and he fancies it, then play him. But if you can sense a bit of hesitation, then you'd stick with your man who's playing at the moment. So, but it's very difficult bringing new players into the club and sticking them straight into European games. We used to have, sometimes you'd have the League Cup games, wouldn't you? Early in the season, you could stick a few of your new players in those games, and then you'd have a good look at them. But I mean, there's no easy way out. You've got. If he doesn't play in that game, when does he play?
Exactly.
Game in the Premiership.
So we've got Man United next, then we've got Man United again in the League Cup, then we've got the league again, and then it's just game after game. There's so many games in a short space of time.
Well, I'll tell you what. Right, you've just given me an out. Really, I would say play him and maybe a couple of the other lads in the League Cup.
Yeah.
And I think that's what United will do. They won't play the big guns in that. And I think that would be, what's that, in 10 days' time, something like that? The United game in the league?
Next Wednesday.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I think that looks spot on for me then. I mean, I would say give those lads a game in the League Cup where, okay, if you do lose, that's a sickener, but it's not the end of the world if you don't progress too far in that.
So I wonder then, David, if there's kind of something in this theory of potentially keeping Fabianski for the Europa League game and for the Manchester United League game at the weekend, potentially bringing Areola in. And the reason why I say that is because he's got the Premier League experience for playing for Fulham last season. So he's already played the full season in the Premier League against all these clubs. So there's not that bedding in period apart from one player only, Cristiano Ronaldo. But there could be method in the madness between, doing that as well. That could be an option.
He has played European games before. He's one of the only players that has played European football before here. He's one of very few West Ham players that has. He has played Champions League football. So
okay.
I don't know where he's played. Yeah. I know that he has played Champions League. So.
If he's played Champions League, then he's played against, he knows the script. He knows what it's like. I can't stress enough how different it is to play in Europe, especially away from home. Playing them at home is great. You couldn't wait to play those foreign players at Upton Park. And I know we're not at Upton Park anymore. I know that. But you loved playing at Upton Park in the European game. The away games were hard. They were difficult. It was strange atmosphere. Physically, you were threatened all the time by the opposition players, physically threatened and verbally threatened, and you just had to get used to that and get on with it. So it's difficult. I mean, goalkeepers as well. I mean, can you imagine your debut and you let 2 soft goals? What happened tonight? Do you see the game tonight? Jesse Lingard?
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yeah, we've seen it. He handed the ball away. Yeah, he gave it away in the last minute.
So how does Jesse feel about that back pass? Can you imagine a brand new player coming into your club and making a mistake like that in his very first game? And that will be judged. That'll be how you judge him straight away. And it's so difficult. David Moyes has got those decisions to make. That's why he earns a lot of money to be the manager.
Trev Troop here is saying, I'd like to see Areola given a start now. I don't think he lacks confidence. He's an experienced pro who's played at the top level. And I get that, and that makes makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't add, it kind of makes sense what you're saying, David, about first game away from home in a potentially intense atmosphere. Do you know what, Matt? It makes a lot of sense. It could be sink or swim for someone like Areola. The difference is, if we talk about him, we'll come forward to Vlasic in a minute, but he's got a lot of history with the country and a lot of history between the clubs. So Anil's saying here, I saw Areola jump and kick the crossbar, I can barely jump and reach them with my fingers. So let's go on then. I mean, David, I get the vibe that you're saying Moyes will stick with Fabianski. I
think he will.
I think you've convinced me.
Going back again to another point, which I would think would be relevant. was that the Eastern European lads, stick them in. They'll know what it's like. How many have we got? How many Czech lads have we got?
We've got, let me find
3.
them. We've got Vlasic
3.
here. Then we've
4,
got
4.
Suchek.
You've got the
We
right
have
back.
got the right back. I'm trying to
right
find
back.
him. Where is he? Sufal.
Sufal.
Can you see him there? There he is.
So
there.
you put
There
that,
he is.
they will know exactly.
And
they'll
Kroll.
be telling
And Kroll. Yeah.
Right. Well, those 4 lads will be telling all of our lads what it's going to be like. They'll be putting them in putting the script together and saying, look, it's not going to be like what you used to on a Saturday afternoon, playing at Highbury or playing at Old Trafford or playing at our stadium. It's going to be different, and you've got to be ready for it, and they'll be ready for it because they'll know what to expect. They'll know the intimidation that's coming. They'll know the way the referees are likely to favour the home team. And it happened. As I said before, it might be a controversial statement, but it happened. The referees favour the home teams in Europe.
So, Matt, are we happy to remove Areola from this? I mean, I've been sold. David sold that to me.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
there we are. So we're going for Fabianski in goal. We're definitely going to put Vladimir Sufal in the right back position. Are we going to go with our what formation do we think Moyes will go for? Do you think he'll play 5 at the back and go all out? I mean, let's go to the.
I think he'll be very safe. I think he'll be very, very safe.
Okay.
And one up front, and basically,
we'll go for it.
I think he'll say, let's see if we can just hold on and maybe break and get a goal on the counter attack with Mikel's strength and physicality.
And I think that
whatever system he plays, I think we're going to find a lot of part of the bus kind of attitude.
I think with Antonio being sent off against Southampton, that kind of guarantees that he'll probably play this game on Thursday night, and then he
can't play a league game.
Because he can't play the league game, obviously. Where I think if that hadn't happened, it may have been a different circumstances. Let's go into we've got Vladimir Sufal on the right hand side. Let's go into the centre half pairing. You talk a lot about Dawson, and I kind of agree with you, to be honest, David. I think there is a lot of criticism on Craig Dawson. But he does exactly what he says on the tin, and he's not the only one. He's not the only one to have faults in our central defensive pairings. So, what do you think? Do you think he's ready for the game away, or would you give someone like Zuma his first chance to play West Ham?
I think Zuma will be spot on for that. I mean, Craig Dawson. I don't know Craig Dawson, but he is a local boy to me up here. I mean, he actually played cricket against my son a few years ago. For the team he played for against my son's team. So, although I don't know him personally, I know the kind of lad he is because I know a lot of his friends. It's a big ask for him to play his very first game away from home again in an atmosphere like that will be in Zagreb. I would think he'll play Zuma. Will he play Diop? Are you thinking Diop?
I mean,
Zuma?
It's probably quite a tough one, to be honest, because I think a lot of fans want to see some of our new signings, but is it the right game to do it? Now, the reason why I would be tempted to put Zuma in this game is because, again, he comes ready-made. He's got Premier League experience. He's got European football experience. He's starting for France. And I think it's probably the right game for him. My concern would be who he plays beside. I don't think it will be Ogbonna because I think there's so many games coming up, and with Ogbonna's injury record and the amount of game, all that sort of stuff to take into contention. And then also I think that maybe Diop is got a lot to still learn, and he's going to get some game time. But you never know; it could be Zuma and Diop. What do you think, Matt?
I don't think it'll be Ogbonna. But on the flip side, on the same way, though, I don't think whoever starts at centre-back on Thursday won't play against Man United on Sunday. Let's not forget as well, Man United are going to have 2 days. They played this afternoon, essentially. It was a 5:30 kickoff for them today, 5:45 kickoff. So they've had 2 days extra rest to us. So it puts the pressure on Moyes that whoever he plays, realistically, you don't want to start them Thursday and then start them Because don't forget, we're playing 3 games in 6 days. Because we're playing Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday. It's literally 7 days a week, flat 3 games. And the work the guys put in these days, the ground they cover, you're not going to get. You might play 2 games in the week, but you won't play 3. So Moyes has got a balance and act of making sure that he picks a team strong enough to play on Thursday, but then also making sure he's still got a strong enough team to pick in the league on Sunday. It's a weird way the fixtures have worked, but we wanted Europe, we've got Europe. Unfortunately, this week happens that Man United were in the Champions League and they're playing Tuesday, so their reward is they get to play 2 days earlier. They will probably play the first team. They played the first team today, and they'll probably play the first team Sunday because they've had that amount of time to rest. We don't have that luxury, which is why Moyes has brought in 4 ready-made first-team players.
Yeah.
If he started on Sunday, he started Dawson Ogbonna. So at the moment, that tells me he still thinks Dawson Ogbonna is his first team. He's like he started centre-back pairing.
Yeah.
So I've got to believe, at least for now, it will be Zuma and Diop.
Yeah.
I think that will change. I do think that by the time we get to the next European fixture, it wouldn't surprise me if the next time it's Diop and Dawson.
But the question I would ask there, though, David, is, and taking into consideration what you said, is there a risk in playing a brand spanking new pairing at the back? Literally 2 players that haven't played any game time for West Ham this season away at Zagreb.
Right. I mean, you'll know more about this than me because you go to the games. I can only watch the odd game that's televised. Will he play 2 centre backs or will he play 3 and play wing backs and park the bus and then say, okay, it is going to be hard work to play on the Thursday and then play on the Sunday. But if you've got a solid system of 5 at the back and then your midfield 4 with 1 up front, you're less likely to be getting forward and you're going to be doing more defensive work, which, although it's physically difficult, it's not going to be in terms of covering yardage, which is if you're playing an attacking formation, then you're going to be covering yards with your boys running about. If they sit back with 5 and 4 and just Antonio up top, then it's a little bit different than saying we're playing 4 at the back and 2 centre backs. So I think he might play 5 at the back, which means he'll play 3 genuine centre halves. Zuma would be an absolute must, a certainty for me in terms of David Moyes' thinking, experience, knows the script, played in Europe. Craig Dawson would be a big ask for Craig to play at that. I mean, look, if you look back, I think you said it spot on, Anton. What you see you get what you see on the tin. Yeah. Craig's had great numbers of games playing at the very highest level. He started in non-league at Radcliffe Borough, signed for Rochdale, stepped up, moved on, Watford, West Brom. Not got a great deal of experience of playing against top class players, except for the last couple since he signed for us. So it would be a big ask for him. And I think he'll go for experience. And that's why I'm surprised you say Ogbonna wouldn't play, because he is experienced. But if you're saying injury, worries might be a concern, then that makes sense. But
he may. I mean, he may. I mean, I think it's just. I think it probably at that point it comes down to personal opinion. It's I suppose it's more of a worry if he's going to be the main starter in the Premier League and he's only just come back. It's trying to work out who that partnership will be, and there is an element of he wants to take Europa League serious. So does he go out and put out his strongest 11 he possibly can? But does that then lean on the side of too much risk when we need to try and get the performances in the Premier League? But let's get back onto this then. So we're definitely saying it's a must that Zuma will be in there. Matt, just go straight for it. Who do you think is going to partner him?
I was going to say this before Dave said the same thing. I think he's going to play back 5.
Okay,
that would make sense to me as well. And
so we're going to go with Soufal on the right.
Yep.
Who's the 3 in the middle? Creswell joining up.
I think it'll be Zuma, Ogbonna, and Creswell.
Okay. I've taken Oggy out. So
who's your left wing back in that situation then? Rather, so Cresswell's been moved out from left wing back, so
he's
left
moved into the
centre
centre.
Yeah.
So you moved him into the centre, so from
The left
left
side of the
back
back
to
three.
become, yeah. So who's your left wing back then?
Are you bringing him in? Are you saying
Masuaku?
Masuaku?
Masuaku, is he?
Yes.
Has he got experience in Europe? Seems
Sign
the
him
type of
from
lad to me who'd get on with it. He wouldn't worry him too much.
Well,
Yeah,
we did
yeah.
sign him from Olympiacos, didn't we? And we brought him in. So
Yeah.
it'd either be, and this is a flip of a coin, it'd either be Masuaku or you'll have four nows out there. So it's almost a back four
With
when
an
we're
option of
attacking,
going forward.
and in a back five when we're defending. We
Yeah.
get them to tuck in, which we've done some points during the season already. But it would not surprise me if he did chuck Masuaku in to make it a proper wing-back situation in the back five.
Matt, you said something really interesting then, and it brought something to mind. When the very first big club, if you like, was Norwich City, when I signed from Rochdale. And when he was Ron Saunders was our manager. And when he was asked what formation he played, he said, when we've got the ball, we've got 10 attackers. When we've not got the ball, we've got 10 defenders. So you've just said that, can people do both jobs? Can we get back? If you lose the ball, everyone's a defender. Everyone. Whatever system you play. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
That's what happened. You've all got to defend. If you're right winger, if you're playing 4-4-2, if you're number 7, if you like, doesn't chase their left back, you're dead.
Yeah.
So he becomes a defender. Your striker, if he doesn't pressure their centre backs, they're going to get through you somehow. So he becomes a defender. So everyone becomes a defender when you've not got the ball. You get as many attackers as you can when you have got the ball. And that's what West Ham, when I was taught what the West Ham way was, that was what it was.
Now, can we go into the midfield, deep line midfield? We've got 5 players here we could really play about with. We've got, obviously, Declan Rice, Tommy Soucek. We've got Alex Kroll, Lanzini, and Mark Noble. Now, do we think we're going to go and just put out the current 2, Rice and Soucek? I mean, I don't think that will happen. I think that's where we might see a change. What do you guys think? Should we take a leaf out of what you've said? Yeah, David, should we take a leaf out of your book and play the Eastern European player, Kroll, who's just come to the club, who knows the Croatian league, he's Czech Republic, but he knows the kind of...
he knows this.
Yeah, he knows the situation,
I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Declan sat in front of the 3 centre-backs and one either side just ahead.
Yeah, protects that, so goes for the 3.
I think that, look, the best thing you could have done for this particular evening was not ask me to come on, but get David Moyes on. And he could just tell you exactly what's going to happen. I mean, we're just playing games here, aren't we?
We are playing games. We are. It's an interesting game, though. What do you think of that, Matt? Do you think that's would that be too much for the lads, or do you think that? I mean, that's definitely going to shut up shop and give us an option going forward.
That's why you have the width, and that would make sense. You've got 3 combative midfielders in the middle, and then the fullbacks offer you the width. So that then leaves you someone to play off of Antonio.
Yeah,
almost if you want like a diamond midfield.
Yeah. So if we were to go for something like that, we've already spoke about playing Vlasic. I think he will probably make his full debut. Again, coming with the history that he's got of the Croatian league. So we'll take Bowen out. Is that harsh to take Bowen out, or are we considering putting Bowen sitting in behind Antonio or Yarmolenko or Ben Rama? I mean, we've got options here.
I've forgotten about Yarmolenko, to be honest.
Yeah.
I forgot. No, I'm not saying that as a jest. I've forgotten about him. I'll tell you what I think he will do. I think he'll play Mark Noble in this game and leave him out on Sunday.
Right. So it'll be Mark Noble's chance
That's a personal opinion. Looking after Mark, I think Mark can do a job. If you're thinking we're going to have a lot of defending to do, in this game. And then
So maybe rest
maybe
them.
Mark would play, and they'd say, "Look, Mark, give us a shift on Thursday night, and you can have a rest on Sunday."
Yeah.
I'll be
What do you think with that, Matt?
surprised
I think that makes a lot of sense. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gives. I mean, one of them needs a rest. So yeah.
So we've got Antonio up top. We've got Vlasic sitting just in the right-hand side. It gives us one more player out on the left. We've got a choice of Yarmolenko. We've got Fornals sitting in deeper in the left, actually, is where we thought if we were going for a back five, if that is what we do.
Move him forward and make it a back four.
I don't doubt for a second that Fornals will play, to be honest. So that could be...
Move him forward and make it to back four for now.
Yeah.
Let's move Creswell across.
Yeah.
So you've got a back four of Soufal, Zuma, Ogbonna and Creswell.
Yeah.
You've got a midfield three of Noble, Vlasic and Souček. You've got Fornals on one wing. Antonio up front. So it is that Vlasic, that last spot. Is Vlasic starting on that wing, or is it Bowen? Is it. Is it Ben Rama? Who's playing on that right hand side? I think Fornals will play.
Yeah, I think Fornals will play.
So then,
I'll tell you what I think. I think there, and as I say, I'd completely forgotten about him, but I think this would be bread and butter for Yarmolenko.
I think it might be as well. Yeah,
I think he would love to play in that game. Playing in Europe, he's used to that. He's Eastern European, isn't he? Ukrainian. I think he could. I think it would suit him down to the ground playing in that game.
So we just need to remove one player. And this is the fun and games we have with the starting 11 predictions. I don't think people are asking in the chat, Benny, it's harsh on Benny.
Look, it's not harsh, is it? That's what we said about last week, didn't we? It was 7 games in 21 days.
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got 4 games in about 10 days. We're playing Thursday night, Sunday night. Sorry, Thursday. We're playing Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday.
We've got a lot of games. We've got a lot of games to cover.
So
that's
it's not dropping anyone.
Yeah.
You have to pull away from the mindset of we're dropping players. We're rotating because you need fresh players.
Yeah. What was it like?
This is when you're going. I think Matt said something 5 minutes ago, which was very true. This is your reward for getting into Europe. So your reward is getting this problem. So it's a problem you've wanted. It's a problem your fans have wanted. So you have to deal with it. So Moyes is experienced. He's an experienced manager. I mean, I was asked when I was a coach what was my favourite formation, and I used to say it was 5-4-2. But you couldn't really get away with that, could you?
No.
So you could, you can juggle with formations and do what you want. Ultimately, one man will decide what it's going to be, or decide what the team's going to be. As I say, to be fair, we're having a nice nice Tuesday night.
Sitting here choosing it.
Won't make much difference, will it? No one's going to. David, I don't think David Moyes will be keyed into this particular chat and
making notes.
Let's pick their brains. That Anton looks as though he knows what he's doing, and the guy with the glasses and the beard, I like the look of him.
He'll be on the phone in a minute. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
A couple of more questions for you, David. But a couple of comments just to go through before we go. Hilero 11, Noble playing is like giving Dynamo 3 points. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
What do you think, David, to that? Harsh criticism on David and Mark Noble?
Well, I mean, he's fair enough at his age. His legs aren't great, but his knowledge will sometimes, your knowledge. I remember when I was coaching at Oldham Athletic, we had John Sheridan playing for us at Oldham, and John sat in front of the back four, and he couldn't run. He could barely move, but he knew the game. He read situations, and his passing was immaculate. He didn't break much down, which is what, we've got strength in Declan doing that. He breaks things down fantastically well and reads danger and senses it. But Mark Noble's experience would be a help. I mean, everyone's got their opinion. The boy who's quoted that and sent that into you watches more West Ham games than I do. So he is opinion could be more valid than mine, but experience is a big thing when you're playing in big games. And the criticism Mark gets about his not being able to get about the field, he compensates with his knowledge of the game and his sense of danger. So what did the guys say? It's like gifting 3 points.
Yeah, it's like gifting 3 points.
But you've got to accept. I've got to accept that he knows more about. He will have watched more. That guy who's said that has watched more West Ham games live than I have. I've only watched games on television over the last few years because we haven't been able to come down to the games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So his opinion's valid. Maybe he knows more than me about it, and I accept fully what he's saying, and I respect that. But that's why we're here, isn't it? To chat.
Yeah, of course.
Get people's opinions, and who's to say? My opinion is not any more valid than the guy who's texted that in.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll run through a couple more comments. We'll get your predictions, and then we'll close it off for the night. David, you've been an absolute legend for being here. So let me just read through some comments. NWO Police, nope. Noble last 20, just because, but people are thinking that might be it. Neil T saying I would have thought Declan would be desperate to play in Europe. NWO saying he will play. Where are we here? Daniela, I know Antonio is suspended for Sunday, but do you rest him till the cup game? For me personally, you don't. But that's down to the fact that I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, David, if you're going to manage a player who's got problems with injuries in terms of hamstrings, sometimes underplaying them can cause a problem, as well as overplaying them can cause a problem. Yeah. Would I be correct?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. No, I'd agree with that. How many games, when will he play again, Antonio? When was his next game after this one? When will that be? Does he miss 3?
No, he only misses 1.
He misses one. Sunday game.
Yeah.
So he could play then at Old Trafford on the Wednesday because he play United twice in 4 days.
Right. Yeah. So he would, if he plays tomorrow, then he's got 6 days to.
6 days off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be a certainty to play. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems absolutely logical to me that he will play, and he'll want to play. He'll want to make up for, people don't get sent off on purpose, and you do feel a little bit guilty when you've been sent off. You feel that you've let the lads down. He will want to play, I'm sure.
A lot of people calling. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people calling for the 3 French lads at the back to play. So that would be Diop, Zuma, and Areola. So there's a lot of people in the chat talking about that, which is really cool. Happy Hammerette saying thank you very much.
That makes sense as well. As well. Three French lads, knowing the communication would be spot on. Yeah, but most of these comments are very, very sensible.
Happy Hammerette saying thank you for your time. Crossy, Steve Irons is saying thank you very much. David is saying don't sell yourself short, David. You play the game at the highest level. Let me just see. There's a few more comments. But what we'll do is let's get everyone's predictions. So if you are watching right now, let me know your predictions in the chat before I ask the legend himself, David Cross. So, David, our first game in the group stages of European football. West Ham travel to Dinamo Zagreb in Croatia, live in front of, I don't know how many fans, 25,000 fans. Hopefully, I think
one of the stands is closed.
Right.
So I did read some of the chat earlier. There was an earthquake recently in the country, and one of the stands is currently closed. So I don't know what that limits the capacity to.
Well, what we do know is that we'll have about 1,200-ish West Ham fans in the stadium. Stay safe if you are going to the game, of course. But David, what is your predictions for the game on Thursday?
I always think predictions of score lines are somehow ridiculous because you get people interviewed. You get people interviewed on television on the day of a game like this, and it'll be someone who runs a fish and chip shop in Bognor Regis who's telling you it's going to be
like us, David.
It's going to be
like us, yeah.
It's going to be 3-0, and you think, "Oh, Christ Almighty, how can you say that?" Look, I think looking at it logically, and it changes in my opinion. The first question I asked you was, is it points we're looking for, or is it a home and away leg? And because it's points, you'd take 1 point, would be satisfied with a 0-0. Nil would be brilliant in every respect, wouldn't it, as far as David Moyes is concerned, because we either then get a point or you get a goal and you've got 3. You would definitely take 0-1, sometimes even 0-2 if you were playing a home and away basis, because you think you could bring them back to our ground and overcome a 2-0 deficit. But 2-0 or a 1-0 in this case that's no use, because you've 0 points and the other team have got 3. So certainly keeping a clean sheet would be massive for me. It does sound stupid to be saying what score will be predicted. I would think, knowing what the manager will be in his mind, he will want to keep a clean sheet, and I'll just hope that we will do that. And if we do, because you've done that, it means you've worked so hard defensively. It means then the chances of getting a goal at the other end are very limited, unless you're very quick on a break. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's 0-0.
So hope for a win, and accept a point.
Exactly right. That was what I would have been thinking before the game. Keep a clean sheet. Try and get one on a break with Antonio and whatever else we've got. Bowen coming in from the situations he comes in from, and maybe you'll get one from a set piece. But 0 would be massive for me. No goals conceded, anything. But and then bring them back to our place and hammer them.
Absolutely. Listen, David, Matt, it's been a pleasure having him on, hasn't it?
It always is. And the chat, I absolutely love it as well. You can see all the thank yous in the chat. It's fantastic. We love having.
Remember what I said at the start of this about that little boy of 7 years of age getting that program.
Yeah,
that never has lost my consciousness. Getting that very first program from West Ham United, and that was always a club that somehow was in my mind. The fact that I signed for West Ham United and played for them, and this sounds crap and cliche stuff, but I was honoured to play for West Ham. I couldn't believe that I could possibly play for West Ham United. I honestly could not believe that. So for me to do that and be able to come on and chat with you guys and get nice comments coming in, means a lot to me. And I know it sounds trite. I know, I understand that, but that's how I feel. West Ham is my club. All those clubs I played for, I like playing for them. West Ham is my club. My children support West Ham.
I love it. I love it.
Wait for that. And so it's a huge thing for me to come and do stuff like this with you guys.
And it really does. I mean, it really does mean a lot, David. I'm not even remotely joking. You same again. It does mean a lot. You know, I wasn't witness to you playing physically. However, a bit like Matt, came from a couple of generations of West Ham families and had no choice but to understand the history of the club. My dad was at the famous game and travelled during the era of your time and thinks you're a fantastic player for the club and legend for the club. So it's an absolute pleasure for us to have you on. Thank you very much. Everyone in the chat is saying, the cat, thank you, David, a hero of mine and a legend. Sharky saying nice. James Bong is saying Psycho is a legend, fantastic to listen to. Thanks, David. Daniela saying thank you. Trev Tube is saying thank you so much. David, Matt, and Anton. Split saying, got to say this man is passionate for his club. Anil is saying thanks, David. The first West Ham game I saw was a cup final on TV. Mark is saying thank you, David, a true legend. So many people. We could be here all night showing you all the comments. David, absolute pleasure to have you on. Hopefully we'll have you back on again sometime soon. And we won't keep you up too late the next time. You're a total legend, and pleasure to have you on, David.
It's brilliant. Brilliant for me to come on. It's a pleasure. It really is. Thanks.
Cheers. Take care, David. Bye-bye. Wow. Love it. Love it, Matt. Unbelievable. It just makes it special. That's probably, the biggest thing about doing these shows and this channel, and for anyone in the chat as well. I know there were so many comments, and it's tough because when you've got a legend on of the club, it's tough to go through every single question, and you're wanting to try and choose the best questions you possibly can to get them there. And David, I mean, he gave us what, an hour and a half? Yeah. I mean, didn't need to do that, but he did.
No.
So anyway, European football, Matt. We're going to be doing a live match day live. Is that right?
Yeah, it's an early one, isn't it?
It's an early
Which I
one.
wasn't even aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a 5:45 kickoff?
Yep, 5:45, and I think tomorrow we should hear about if there is going to be what inclusion of 11 younger players is going to be included, which will be interesting to hear as well. But it's tough to choose a starting 11 because we don't really know what Moyes is going to do in the Europa League. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one. But while we're at it, I'll jump through some comments asking for their predictions. Have a think about your predictions, Matt. While we go on to everyone else's. So Sharky's saying 2-1 away win. Take that. That'll be amazing. Epic Hashtime saying 10-0 to West Ham. Rob is saying hopefully we have something left in the tank for Sunday, else we'll get hammered by Manchester United. Vinay saying 2-0 to West Ham. Vlasic and Yarmolenko will score. Anil saying 1 each. David Saunders saying 1-0. English Yardy 1-all. Serif Happy Hammer 1-1. Alfie saying 3-1, I think 2-0 if we have 5 at the back. WHU58 saying 1-1. Trini Hammer saying 2-0. Warren Hardcastle saying 3-1. Helen saying 1-1. Hilero 3-2. Split saying 1-0. James Bong 1-all. Daniela Stewart 2-1. Raymond Debo 2-1. Loads of comments in there. First comment that says that Zagreb will win the game though. It's funny when we do these predictions. You can see the switch for this game, can't you? You can see the switch has been well and truly turned. I mean, we've been predicting 3-2, 3-0, 4-1, 4-0 results over the last few games. Comes to the Europa League and everyone's sitting there going 1-all, 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 0-0, 1-0. What do you think?
I still think, this now depends on the team Moyes picks, right? If Moyes does entirely swap the team about, I'd probably say 1-1. If he sticks to, say, 3/4 of the first team with a couple of players swapped out, I'm probably going to say like a 2 or 3-0. Because the thing is, right, I was not confident before I got in and started doing all this research, right? And the research tells you that they are a team with a lot of European history, but
who can perform on a big stage.
Who can, but they're not an especially threatening team. They're not like this season. They're joint top after 17. They played 16 games. I think the other teams played 17 games. Or no, sorry, they've played. Is it 8? Some played 7. Some have played 8. They've got 16 points. They're joint top with about 3 other teams in a one-team league. They play in a one. People say Scotland's a 2-team league. The Croatian league is literally them. It's them, and their rivals that I can't pronounce the name of. Like the rival's the one that Vlasic comes from. I think a second.
Hajic. Yeah.
But they've scored 13 goals in 7 games. They don't even average 2 goals a game. The last 5 games, all 5 games have been decided on under 2.5 goals, which means they're getting like 1 and 2-0 shutouts in a 1-0 in like a one-team league. They have Orsic and they have the captain and the guy that begins with L, and they've got like the Croatia goalkeeper. Their team isn't littered with big name players. It isn't littered with amazing world-class players. They are a team that can be had, and it just depends if we can. Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. It depends if we can handle the occasion. If we do what Tottenham did and go out there and think that 2-0, they went out there having won their home leg 2-0 and just strolled around the park like, oh, this is going to be easy. And they got put to the sword by a very clinical Orsic, who was probably like the game of his career. And at the time when I saw that last year, I thought, oh, this is like a good young up-and-coming player. It's like, no, he's 28, 29. He just only started putting through. They have a very good youth academy, but they don't bring many players through. They tend to sell them on. Look, if anyone doesn't know, the reason they're in the Europa League is because they got knocked out of the playoff round of the Champions League by FC Sheriff. They lost, I don't know if it's the home away leg. They lost one leg
3-0
3-0
over 2 legs, yeah.
and they drew one leg 0-0, right? FC Sheriff are the Moldova champions. Right? So, and we know Moyes doesn't let players get overly confident. You have to respect them. And if we respect them and we take it as if we treat this like a Premier League game at the weekend, we should win. The only way we don't win is if we go in overconfident.
Overconfident, yeah. That's a valid point. Right, come on. Let's get to your predictions then. Based upon everything you've just done to convince me why we shouldn't win the game.
2-0.
2-0 West Ham. Comfortable 2-0. Oh, I don't have a clue, mate. I don't have a clue. I can't see us. I'm worried we'll concede. I'm worried that's what we'll do. So I think we will concede, but we'll outscore the opposition, and I do think they'll struggle. I really do think they'll struggle, mate, with Antonio. To be honest, I really do think they will, and that's it. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Sharky, remember West Ham beating Macclesfield 8-0 a few years ago, Pat. Madigi saying 1-1. Stella saying Fabianski, Fredericks, Diop, Zuma, Johnson, Kroll, Declan, Benrahma, Vlasic, Lanzini, Antonio. Wow, that's big changes.
Well, change. You know what, Fredericks? I think Fredericks will do well in Europe.
Pacey,
because of his pace.
Yeah, Johnson will
the
do
French
well.
connection for the back three, so the centre backs and the goalkeeper will do well. Stell's
But there isn't
because he won't mention the name Masuaku.
But there isn't three French there. You put Fabianski.
Oh, so no, Fabianski. Sorry, yeah, Fabianski.
Yeah.
He won't mention Masuaku, so he's put Johnson in. Krau and Rice, so he's dropped Souček.
Yeah.
And then sort of an aggressive attacking three. It's
Jezza saying, Matt, that's a delusional opinion. Zagreb are no pushovers. I cannot see us winning in unknown European territory, draw or loss. I think we'll concede. I'm going to go for a 2-1 West Ham victory, but I'm not overly confident, especially on the back of the game against Southampton. However, there are players there, and David Cross makes a very, very, very valid point about putting a lot of the Eastern European players in who know the score within the local kind of country, etc. So that might make sense. We might see some, if I thought about the Europa League, I think we thought we were going to see a little bit more of Lanzini, a little bit more of Yarmolenko. But we'll just have to.
I think Yarmolenko would have started, but because Antonio got sent off, I think that now puts him in a position where he can't play, so he's going to start.
Yeah.
I think that's... Yeah.
Well, listen, Matt's gone for 2-0 West Ham. I've gone for 2-1 West Ham. And that has been our match day warm-up. What do you think of the new name of the previously known as preview show? The match day warm-up. What do you think, Matt? What do you think of the name?
It's nice. It's different. It's good.
It's nice.
It's nice. It's good. It's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's giving it its own thing rather than just saying, it's giving it its own unique title.
Yep. I tell you what, we are going to be doing the match day live on Thursday. It will be the day after tomorrow, so make sure you do join us. We will be having several guests coming on throughout, so make sure you do come and watch. I may have a little bit of a Regini, mate. I may just treat myself. It's middle of the early evening, so we'll see how it goes. You're going to be there, Stell will be there. A few other, I think Russ will be there as well. So make sure you do tune in. Tomorrow we've got lunchtime live with Russ. I think we've got a daily kicking about tomorrow at some point as well. Maybe with a My Hammers 11 kicking about, and then we lead into the day they call Europa League Day as well. Anyway, listen, Matt. I was going to ask you the player you fear the most from Zagreb. Shall I bring him up for you?
Yeah, go on.
This one here.
You know what? It's for me, it's 50-50. And I rarely say this. It's only going to be him or Orsic. And
it was interesting what the Croatian Irons guy said to us. He said he's a late bloomer, but he's got a history of stepping up into the big games as well. Player that they should fear the most from West Ham.
I think it will be Antonio.
Yeah, I do think as well.
Because I don't think they're going to have played against anything like it.
Yeah.
At all. because of his pace and his power.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. 100%. I do as well. So, listen, thank you for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow. This has been our matchday warm-up. He's been Matt. I've been Anton. Get behind the lads. Come on, you Irons.